recommendations, and this is Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So during its November 6th meeting, we had 28 of 30 voting members of the Measure C Steering Committee, or 93% of the membership, approve what we're calling the high priorities option for apportioning future Measure C funding across 5 broad categories. The high priorities option was based on primarily on the previous initial vote that the committee members approved, and that incorporated input from the Fresno Cog Policy Board, city staff and elected officials, public comments, surveys that were taken, and other stakeholder input. Under the recommendation, the Measure C proposal would include 5 categories of expenditures. The existing neighborhood streets and roads category at 65%, or roughly $4.8 billion over the 30-year lifetime of the measure. Public transportation at 25%, approximately $1.85 billion over the 30 years. Regional connectivity, 5%, 369, almost 370 million. Transportation innovation, 4%, or access and innovation, 4%, 295, almost $296 million. And administration at 1%, about $74 million. The public transportation, I should mention the existing neighborhood streets and roads category includes a formula split that is based on 80% road miles, 80% population and 20% road miles after an established floor of 400,000 per agency on an annual basis. So a $400,000 floor, and then moving to the 80-20 formula following that, the 400,000 off the top. The public transportation category would be split also on a population formula among the region's 3 transit operators: Fresno Area Express, Clovis Transit, and the Fresno County Rural Transit Agency. Public transportation has consistently been listed as the #2 transportation issue in the county. The 25% recommendation represents an overall 1% increase in transit spending across the region for Measure C, and is intended to allow as for greater expansion and coordination of the countywide transit system, including an expansion of bus rapid transit and on-demand types of services, particularly in denser urban areas. The regional connectivity category includes funding for capital improvements, such as major arterial roadways, connectors, and highway and freeway interchanges, for example. The innovation, access, and innovation category anticipates funding for additional infrastructure to add electric vehicle charging stations, electric grid expansion and battery storage, autonomous vehicles, and zero or reduced transit fares for senior citizens, active military, veterans, and disabled populations. The 1% set aside for administration includes costs associated with staffing, annual audits, expenses related to the Measure C Oversight Committee, technical assistance jurisdictions, public outreach and notifications for amendments to the expenditure plan, and a searchable project database. Previously, the steering committee had recommended that the measure be approved as a 30-year extension of the current initiative. Attached to this annotated report are the PowerPoint presentations the steering committee received, as well as handouts that compare the 2 options committee members considered for the general category allocations, as well as a side-by-side summary table comparing the 2 options against allocations in the current measure. So again, we're talking today about the high priorities option. Tonight, the action you have before you is that staff, the Measure C Steering Committee, and the TTC and PAC all recommend that the policy of board approve the high priorities option for the 2026 Measure C general category allocations, as well as a 30-year extension timeline. I should point out that we have received 1 letter that has been distributed to you. Signed by several individuals. I don't see a group name, but representing multiple individuals that proposes a different formula, and that is in front of you and was distributed electronically as well. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I know there's going to be plenty of questions here, so from the board, who Sergeant Fritz?
So, I read the letter, and the letter makes sense to me. I mean, if you look at the amount of ridership compared to the amount of money we're putting into public transportation, I believe it's an absolute gross misspend of money. And I'm gonna give you the data for Kalinga, because I did get that data today. For the intercity and the on-demand, every year, we're spending $609,343 for 17.59 passengers per day. That comes out to an average of 62.75 per passenger. Total ridership intercity is about 3,049 and on-demand is about 5,763. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying that to wrap my head around $609,000 for 17 passengers per day, I'm at a loss here. That's absolutely ridiculous. And so when I look at the numbers that I got from the letter, I look at that 1% of each trip from the rural areas and 2% from each trip from the intercity, for the city, goes for public transportation, but yet in the allocation we have 25%. And then I noticed that we have new categories that added into that public transportation as well. And I also looked at the implementation guidelines, which I know we're not talking about tonight, but we should, because it makes a difference when you look at, and I'm not against these numbers either, I'm just pointing it out, 70% is gonna go to fax out of that 25%. And so my thoughts on this are that not everyone is the same. So what may work for Fresno and what may work for Clovis, definitely I don't think works for Kalinga. $609,000 for 17.5 passengers a day. Doesn't work. And I don't know how we fix this. We do want to be able to get our passengers around our city, but just looking at the on-demand, we're looking at just to travel less than a mile per passenger, we're looking at $42.16. That's outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. If any one of us got an Uber bill for that, we'd be really mad. And I can't believe that this is government money being spent in this direction. That's my comment. Thank you.
I have a comment. Just in terms of the percentages, I'll look at another one, the regional part. I think it should be higher. I think there should be more for regional plans. As the councilman from Selma indicated earlier, Golden State was a great project for Selma, but we have a big problem with Floral Avenue, and it's a regional project. And we're not gonna be able to get that kind of money with impact and development fees. Measure C is necessary, and the regional plan is necessary. I would be in favor of increasing the regional plan, and as Mayor Vosburgh said, reducing the percentage from transit.
I just want to say a few things here. I read a letter that was sent to all of us, and that letter, it's put together by the same group of people that left our cities behind. In the past 20 years, since 2006, Mendoza was promised, that at the west side, was promised 180 to go all the way to I-5. Did that happen? It didn't happen. So how can you say the regional is successful out there? I just want to make that clear. Aside from that, the people that are putting together this letter are people that are consultants for regional projects out there in Sacramento, getting paid dollars to go lobby. Do they really know what each of our people needs in our cities? That's one thing. If the transportation is currently not working, and I see you guys smiling out there, but I challenge you guys to go out there to our cities, go to Mendota and ask them, what do you guys need in your city? But this letter, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think a measure that is gonna go through it is a balanced measure.
Yes.
It needs to be a balanced measure. It's not gonna be all roads, it's not gonna be all transportation, and now it's time to balance the cities out. We need to fix the roads, and we're getting that enough money to fix the roads. We need to fix our transportation system. If you got 18 passengers, then maybe it's an operational problem. You know, the money is gonna be there to fix it. Let me finish. The money is gonna be there to fix it. So I encourage to think positive and let's move forward.
I'd actually like to respond to that. I believe it's because the people in Calinga, they travel to Fresno, are gonna wanna stop at Ross, they're gonna wanna stop at, Costco, they're gonna wanna stop at their doctor's appointment, and what that doesn't allow them to do is on a bus. And it doesn't allow them to do it on an Uber, and it doesn't allow them to do it on a Script service. And a lot of folks don't want to take public transportation. That's the thing, they don't want to. They don't wanna do it. Now, I'm not saying Calinga's like everybody, but I'd like to ask, out of the board here today, who took the bus in the last month?
I have,
Maybe one. I'm guaranteeing that most of the buses
I
are not
haven't
riding the
because I don't
bus.
need it, but I know there's a lot of people in our city of Mendoza constantly asking when are we gonna put a bus, maybe a microtransit, to take people from, you know, a place here to the health clinic. There's
I'm not
people,
saying there's
there's
not a
people
need, I'm
over there
just
that are
saying that-
70 years old that are not gonna be walking 4 miles to get from one place to another place. Let's think creative.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying there's not a need. What I'm saying is that we can't continue to do the same thing and think we're gonna get a different result.
That's operational, right?
I don't think it's operational because the operations are working. I believe it's foundational. I think it's a foundational problem because people have the ability to ride the bus right now and they're choosing not to. The bus is there. There's a choice. They can get on the bus and drive to Fresno and they're not. They can get on the bus and drive around the city and they're not. They can get on a bike and ride the bike lanes and they're not. They don't want to. So what I'm saying is I don't think that it works for everyone. That's all my only point is. I'm not trying to take it away. I'm just saying that we need to make sure this works for everyone.
And I would concur with Mayor Vosper that it's not that we don't need a public transit component. It's just that we don't need to increase it so much, because we've got needs in other areas, like the regional plans.
I'm gonna have Dyer and just go after Dyer.
Sure. I appreciate it, and I understand fully some of the comments that we made about facts. I was not always a strong supporter of public transit either. And most of that was out of a lack of understanding. And when I became the mayor of Fresno, with 1/4 of the people live at or below the poverty line, when we have increasing energy rates, the highest in the country, where we have inflation, insurance costs that are so high to insure a vehicle, there are more and more people that are not able to drive a car today and can't afford a car. And I read a counter proposal that came in from the other group, reducing transit to 11% from the current 24%. And I don't think that people realize how that formula works. But that 11% would really mean our transit system would go down to 6.65% of the total funding available from Measure C. That would devastate our transit. That would put us about $7.3 million a year. I can tell you we would have to eliminate weekend services. We would have to eliminate most of the evening services. We would have to allow for longer wait times in between transportation, people waiting. And I hear oftentimes that, and also would put us in a position as a city that we'd have to use general fund money to make up that difference, which is not what we want to do, or to increase rates, which is going to further decrease the number of people that can afford to ride a bus. And I hear frequently about empty buses in Fresno. 10.3 million riders on our transit system this last year. 10.3 million, but 2.6 million people go through our airport. We have a lot of people riding the buses. The people that rely on our bus system are our students. We have all of Fresno Unified. We have Central Unified, Fresno County Office of Education schools. We have Fresno State, State Center Community College students, both City College and Clovis. We have people, seniors that have to take a bus to the doctor's appointment. We have people that need to take a bus to go buy groceries, to get to school, to get to work. And are we gonna tell those people, sorry, you're gonna have to wait 2 hours for a bus? Are we gonna tell people we're gonna triple what you pay for a bus ride? And I've heard about the increase. I don't think we need to have this kind of increase. What we pay today for transit is 24% under the current Measure C. It's 19.66%, plus the remaining 4.34%. That covers senior script, veterans, etc. So we are currently at 24%. This increase is at 1%. And then, and that's not to say that there isn't room for innovation. That isn't to say that what you spoke about isn't accurate in terms of transit on demand or whatever other system we want to come up with. Or there's going to be autonomous vehicles in the future. We know that to be true. But the simple fact is, this keeps us whole. And this allows us, at least in our transit system, to be able to increase services, to be able to go to other locations, to be able to decrease the wait time for people to take a bus. And it gives us an opportunity also to make sure that we're not increasing fares, and in some cases, reducing fares for our veterans and for our seniors. And to do otherwise, quite frankly, I think is heartless.
I just wanna say something. I was one. I was also one that also did not believe in the transit, because I see it in my town that it's really not utilized as much. But when I heard the stories that Dyer had mentioned when we were talking about transit and how it's affecting students, I didn't know that they were providing a bus service for Fresno Unified and all the students, because the school system is looking at eliminating the bus service. So that is happening, and it might even happen in our communities, as rural communities too, because they're trying to do these budget cuts and find ways to save money. So that can affect us as well. So to me, when I heard those stories of what was going on in Fresno, gave me a different perspective. Just because I don't see it in Parlier doesn't mean it's not needed anywhere else. So, I'm sorry. Oh yes, Freddy's next, I'm sorry. I'm reminded that you were next, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you know, as we all sit here and the public's here, and you see everybody has a different city, everybody has a different need. I think the most important is that as a collective body, that we work together to find compromise. And I think that the committee that we put together was well representative of everybody. And I think, again, you know, we live in a town where we do have county roads that have been dilapidated, Nees, West Shaw, you know, and you look at those things, and when the funding allotment for public roads is now at 65, for us, you know, it's a compromise, because as Fresno has a need for transportation, maybe Fireball's need for public transportation is not so great. So we have to compromise and work together and understand each other's cities, and understand that again, you know, if we're looking at regional projects, that those regional projects go to rural areas. You know, we travel on Avenue 7, that's part Madera COG and part Fresno COG. It has been in bad shape for as long as I'm 50 years old. So again, you know, for them to lower the regional made sense for me, made sense for Fireball, because we haven't seen a regional investment in our areas yet. So for me, I think it's important that the public understand and see that we are here, different people with different ideas, but we're truly here to again, think of one another as a city. So as Fresno and Clovis thought of us when they gave us the $6 million for, you know, safe routes to schools, it's important that we understand their needs as well. So I just would like to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, Maria, next.
Oh, I'm so